Hi students, it's Miss Rogers. Today I'm going to be introducing to you and explaining to you some new vocabulary terms that will help you with the Keystone exams. These 6 terms will be present on the exam, whether they ask you questions about them or you just need to know them to help you figure out answers to questions. So I'll go through the 6 terms, the definitions, and some examples. I will let you know when to pause the video. That way you can catch up on your note taking, and then I'll continue on. Then tomorrow in class, after you watch this video, I will answer any questions you may have and we'll do some more practice with the terms. So the first term is synonyms. The definition, a word having the same or nearly almost the same meaning as another word. Some examples of this: beautiful and attractive. They would be considered synonyms because they're interchangeable. So if I say, that girl over there is very beautiful, I could also say, that girl over there is very attractive. They mean basically the same thing. Same as funny and humorous. If I say, that boy is very funny, he always makes me laugh, I could also say, that boy is very humorous, he always makes me laugh. So funny and humorous, beautiful and attractive are synonyms because they're words that mean basically the same thing and can be used interchangeably in sentences. This is where you can pause the video to catch up on the notes if you are not already. The next word is antonyms. So the definition of antonyms is a word opposite in meaning to another. So there's synonyms that mean the same, and there's antonyms that are opposite. Some examples of antonyms: bad and good. These cannot be used interchangeably in a sentence like synonyms can. Okay, so bad and good, hard and easy, fat and slim. I can't say the boy was being very naughty and bad, and then the boy was being very naughty and good. They're not interchangeable, they're opposites. So this is where, once again, you may pause the video to catch up on the notes. The next term, affixes. Affixes. So the definition to this is a little longer, but it's an additional element placed at the beginning or at the end of a word, a root, a stem, or in the body of a word to modify its meaning. That word modify means to change its meaning. So there are 2 types that go under affixes. There's prefixes and there's suffixes, which are the next 2 terms. So once you get caught up on this, you may pause the video, and then the next 2 terms will be prefixes and suffixes, where we'll see some examples. So, prefixes. These appear at the beginning of words. So some examples, and you probably have heard this before: dis, anti, pre, by, re, and there's so many more that aren't even listed on here. But they're at the beginning of the word that, remember, they modify the meaning of the word. So, he bought a new bicycle. Bicycle. We know that word, okay? But by is actually a prefix. It is saying to, which is a bike, right? 2 wheels on a bike. He bought a new bicycle. If it were he bought a new cycle, well, what kind? Does it have 1 wheel, 2, 3 would be a tricycle. So it modifies the meaning of the root word. Another example, the result was predetermined. Predetermined. That pre meaning before, right? So it was determined before. That pre changes the meaning of the word determined. Prefixes, you see the pre in there. Before, it comes at the beginning. Before, beginning. So that's one way you could remember it. So if you need to catch up on taking your notes, you can pause the video here and we'll move on to suffixes. So in affixes, we just went over prefixes. Now we'll go over suffixes. These are at the end of the words. These get added to the end of the words. So some examples that you've probably heard: able, full, ly, and once again, like prefixes, there are many, many more suffixes. Here's some examples. She plays wonderfully. She plays wonderfully. In this one, you have the full, right? Full of wonder or good. We know wonderful means good, great. And the ly, wonderfully. His jobs are plentiful. Adding that full means he has a lot of jobs, right? So these suffixes change the root word just a little bit to help the sentence make sense, sound better, or change what it means. Once again, you may pause the video if you need to catch up, and then we will move on to our last key term. And our last term is context clues. These are very, very, very important. And all the key terms that we had just learned, the 5 before, context clues kind of sums them all up, okay? So the definition of context clues are hints that an author gives to help define a difficult or unusual word within a book. And not only does it have to be a word, like the definition says, it could also be maybe the author uses indirect characterization, kind of describes a character in a certain way. If we read the context clues, we can figure out, oh, that character might be shy, or she's really funny, or she doesn't really have emotions yet. Okay, so they're not only for words, but in this instant, we're going to talk about them that way. An example of a context clue: the annual bazaar is scheduled for the last day of school. It is always a fun festival. Now, bazaar is an interesting word. We don't really use it in this way. So you might not exactly know what it means. But if I continue to read, the sentence after says it is always a fun festival. So based on context clues, I know what a festival is, like a carnival, a party, right? Based on my context clues, I can assume that the word bazaar also means festival, okay? Which those two would be synonyms, all right? So context clues is you're looking around the word, around the sentence, in other sentences to figure out what a word might mean if you don't know it. This is super, super important for the Keystone exams because sometimes there are words in the passages that you might not know. They're harder, you've never heard of them, but looking at your context clues around that sentence and that word can help you figure it out in order to answer the question or just understand what you're reading, okay? You can pause here to finish up the notes if you need to, but other than that, those are your 6 terms. So we have synonyms, antonyms, affixes, prefixes, suffixes, and context clues. So like I said, tomorrow in class, after you watch this video, we'll come together. You can ask me any questions you might have about these key terms, and we'll do some exercises in order for you to practice and get used to these key terms so that you're ready for the Keystone exams.